So you just pulled something shiny and had a little bit of a freak out, but then you just realized that it's only worth 18 cents and a little bit of your dignity. If you don't know what these symbols mean, you're going to end up overvaluing junk and underselling gold. Rarity symbols, holotypes, alt arts, secret rares, it all means something, and I'm going to break it all down in this video. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Chris, and I recently got back into Pokemon cards after 25 years of being out of the hobby. And when I first started back, I thought I was killing it. I was opening packs and seeing all these shiny cards and got super excited. I was sleeving everything, a reverse holo Caterpie even. I remember even bragging about a card that turned out to be worth about 22 cents. The truth is, I had no idea what I was looking at. I had no idea what these new symbols meant, what was a real rare card, and what was just sparkly bait. And honestly, if you're just getting into this hobby or getting back in after 20 years of being out, it can be really confusing to know what things are actually good. So in this video, I'm breaking down Pokemon card rarity so you will actually know what you're looking at the next time you open a pack of cards. Okay, let's start with the basics. What even is card rarity in Pokemon? The rarity system is set up to tell you how hard it is to pull a card from a pack, and in theory, to tell you how special that card is. Common cards, you'll see the same one come pack after pack. Special illustration rares, you'll see maybe one every booster bundle if you're lucky. Rarity is something that will affect how excited you get when you pull a particular card. It'll affect how much a card is valued on the secondary market, and it'll determine how hard it is to complete a set. Just because a card is rare doesn't mean it's actually special. And just because a card is shiny doesn't mean that it's actually rare. See, that's something that I struggle with whenever I came back to the hobby, because there are reverse holos and holos in almost every pack. They're no longer rare like they were back in the early 2000s. That's why understanding the rarity tiers is so important. It's so you don't overvalue and overhype total junk, and so you don't accidentally toss out something that is actually worth a lot. Now that you know why rarity actually matters, let's take a look at some of the symbols that you're likely to see on these cards so you know what you got. Every single Pokemon card has a little icon at the bottom left corner, and if you know what that means, then you're already ahead of like 80% of new collectors out there. Let's talk about the classic system that has been in place from the early base set all the way up to the current Scarlet and Violet. If you're returning from years of being away from the hobby, you will already be familiar with the next 4 symbols, but if you're new, let's go over them anyways. First, you have a little black circle at the bottom left corner. That is for common cards. These are the cards you're going to see the most often, and you're going to probably put most of them in your bulk pile somewhere. Next, you have the uncommon cards, which are represented by a little black diamond. These are a little bit rarer than the common cards, naturally, and they have a little better place in the TCG itself. And usually the secondary evolution of a particular Pokemon falls into these cards, whereas the common cards are typically, it's a base evolution of a particular Pokemon. Next up, you have the little black star, a single star in the corner, and this is symbolizing rare. This is where the old school pools used to be really good. If you got a black star, it was great. But things have changed a lot, and the black star is almost just as common as most of the other common cards. Next, you may have seen the black star, but also has the word promo. This is a black star promo. Some of these cards are super rare in that they were only given out to a handful of people at special events, while some of the other ones are mass printed and put in boxes and tins and things, and you'll be able to find them at Walmart and Target and Best Buy and all these other places. Now, this is where the game has started to change quite a bit from when we were kids, if you're coming back from a nostalgia point of view. The next symbol we're going to look at are the 2 black stars in the corner, and this is a double rare. These cards are typically EX cards or V cards, like my trusty Mimikyu here, and you can maybe see, I don't know, I'll put it up on the screen. These cards are typically EX cards or V cards, and they're legitimate pulls. They're considered a hit. If you hear people talking about hits, oh, that's a hit. EX cards are technically a hit because they're beyond the normal rarity status. Next up, you have the ultra rares, and these are represented by little white stars or gray stars, depending on how you want to classify them. These are often full art trainers, some special cards, and usually really cool cards to find. And then you have illustration rares, and these are represented by a single gold star in the corner. These cards are really nice to look at and are typically what people try to put in their binders. Just past that in the rarity status is the special illustration rare, which is represented by 2 gold stars in the bottom. Now these cards are typically the ones that will be the hits, the main hits, the chase cards of whatever particular set. Not every special illustration rare is something that is worth gooing and guying over. Oohing and eyeing? Whatever. Not every special illustration rare is something that is worth it. But typically, whatever the chase card is of a particular set, it's going to be a special illustration rare. And just beyond that, you have hyper rare cards with 3 gold triangles. Real original, they keep going up with all the different stars, not triangles. Have I been saying triangles this whole time? The hyper rare cards are usually the gold cards or the rainbow cards that you may find in some sets. We haven't had rainbow cards in a while, I don't think, so it's mostly the gold cards like in Journey Together. Now, even though these cards are technically more rare than the special illustration rare cards, they typically aren't worth as much as some of the higher end special illustration rares. And this is where it's kind of confusing because some of these gold cards are actually easier to pull than the special illustration rare cards. So don't let that technical rarity fool you in this instance. So now if you see that little star in the bottom left hand corner, you'll actually know what rarity it is, and you can start to kind of piece together, is this card going to be valuable? Now, remember, monetary value is not always what makes collecting fun. Sometimes a particular card can be valuable to you because it's something that you like. For example, my Mimikyu here, not very valuable, but I love Mimikyu, it's my favorite Pokemon, so it's valuable to me in my collection. Now, beyond the different rarity symbol types, there is also different foil types, like the holographic foil, and that can be a little bit confusing if you're coming back into the hobby after years. As a matter of fact, some of the flashiest looking cards are basically holographic catfishing. Reverse holo cards are cards where everything on it is shiny except for the actual picture of the card. And then you have normal holographic cards where the picture is holographic and shiny and the rest of the card is plain. While both of these actually look pretty cool, especially if you're chasing the art, they're typically not worth very much and aren't really the ones that people are looking for. Unless you're playing the trading card game, and then there's different values for particular players. Where cards start to get really valuable are with the full art cards, and the name suggests exactly what it is. It's a card where the whole thing is a full art, like all the artwork covers the entire card. You're used to seeing cards where just a box has the artwork in it, but a full art is the entire card, and these are where special cards start to come in. These are often ultra rares or better, and they can be textured, they can be holographic, they can be just plain, but they're typically beautiful and what most collectors are seeking after. Now, going back to the illustration rares that we talked about earlier, these cards are beautiful pieces of artwork that typically display a scene or telling a story. Sometimes they may even be interconnected between multiple cards. This is a kind of card that if you pull one, definitely sleeve it immediately. Put it in a penny sleeve. Protect this card. These cards typically have a very low pull rate, which means it's harder to pull them from a pack, and so their price typically is a little bit higher on the secondary market. You can think of these as kind of the crown jewels of your binder. This also goes for the special illustration rares, which are usually a little more elaborate and definitely more rare. About 10 years ago, rainbow rares and gold cards were kind of the king. They were the main chase cards. Well, most sets don't have rainbow rares anymore, and the gold cards have kind of taken a back seat to the special illustration rares. But they are still really unique cards and great for collecting, and something that you need to hold on to and sleeve immediately. Okay, you've probably been picking up on a theme. Just because a card is shiny or has a rarity symbol doesn't mean that it's actually worth anything. Not always. For example, I pulled this card a couple weeks ago from an older pack that I'd never opened before, and I didn't know what I was looking at. And so when I saw this, I thought it was something pretty special. But then come to find out, it's not really worth more than your average neighborhood gas station sandwich. I've had that sandwich. Not great. So you may be asking yourself, what exactly makes a card valuable? Well, it comes down to 4 main things. Number 1 is the playability in the actual trading card game itself. If a card has special abilities, or if it's something that is in a winning deck, people are going to be trying to get after that card, so demand can be high, and this can increase the value of the card. For example, there might be some random trainer you thought you were going to throw out, didn't look great or anything, but it's actually a staple in tournaments. The cards can change suddenly. If a card was in a winning deck, that card may be more valuable. Next up is collector demand. There are particular Pokemon, for example, that almost all collectors like to have. Charizard, Gengar, Mewtwo, you get it. Now these cards will always be in demand. So if you see a special illustration rare or illustration rare whatever of these cards, go ahead and hold on to it, because a lot of people want that in their binder. And so if you don't want it in your binder, it'd be great to put in your trade binder and be able to trade for something you actually do want. Third is the art style and rarity combination. A special illustration rare with a particularly unique scene can be something that is highly sought after. Some of the most rare cards have some of the most awesome artworks on them. And typically if you see a good artwork, it's probably something good. Fourth, the condition of the card and whether or not it has been graded. As you can imagine with collecting anything, something that is near mint is going to be worth way more than something that has been played a lot or dinged up in the corner. And so even something like this Mimikyu can come with a nice pretty penny if it's graded a near mint 10. On the flip side, something like a special illustration rare Umbreon can go for thousands of dollars. And so grading and condition play a lot into the value of a card. There are a lot of places that you can check the value of cards if you're unsure. TCG Player is probably the most used throughout the hobby. You'll see most people, whenever you go to trade shows or if you go to a trade night or a local card shop, they're going to be using TCG Player to assess the value of whatever card they're dealing with. And this is a great place for you to also see what is popular out there in the world. Another place to see how a card should be valued is looking at eBay, but make sure you actually go down and look at the sold listings rather than just what it's being asked for, because you can actually see how much these cards are selling for, not just what they're asked for. Some people can ask for whatever, they can ask any price literally, but if it's not selling for that, it's not actually that price. So make sure you're looking at the sold listings on eBay. Once you start to get a little more experienced with cards and trading, you can look on Discord or Facebook groups or whatever and be able to assess a little bit better there, but you can see value and see what's being traded or sold in those areas as well. Now, inevitably, you're going to come across a fake Pokemon card that you think is something super valuable, but fakes have gotten so much better over the years. They could take the Umbreon, the Moonbreon, and lay a sticker over top this Mimikyu and make it look almost just like the actual Umbreon. Now, whenever you're in person and you see this card, it may be easy to determine that it is a fake card, but that's why it's important to be very careful when you're buying stuff online, because people can really scam you out of a lot of money if you're not careful. I would highly suggest you staying away from online stuff until you get a little more comfortable with the whole collecting process. So what kind of ways can you look to see if a card is fake? Well, one, I always like to think of the FBI solution. They give their agents $20 bills, $100 bills, whatever, and they're real ones. They give them so that they can really get to know the real product. So when they come across a fake, they don't have to learn all the hundreds and billions of different types of fakes that are out there. They can know immediately that something's fake because they're so acquainted with the real thing. I would suggest you kind of looking at your own Pokemon cards that you pulled from packs, the ones that you know for sure are real cards, and that way you can really spot a fake whenever you see one out in the wild. So what are some other ways that you can tell if a card is fake if you haven't become so acquainted with the real thing? Well, typically you'll tell, just examine the card for a minute. Something will feel off. The back of the cards may be a little too faded or not aligned just right, or maybe the font doesn't look right. You've been looking at cards and the fonts are somewhat the same, but this one just looks a little off. Maybe there's a typo. Typos are obvious ways to tell something is fake. Also notice the texture and the feel. Fake cards tend to be way thinner, a little more flimsy, and there's just a quality to a real card that is missing from almost all fakes. So if you find yourself in a situation where maybe you're thinking about buying a card or trading for a card and something feels off, it probably is. So just go ahead and don't buy or trade for that card. Even if it was real, it's better to be safe than sorry. You don't want to lose your hard-earned money or your valuable cards over something that is totally fake. Okay, we've done it. You officially know more about Pokemon card rarity than probably like 80% of new collectors. So here's the next step for you. Keep learning. Keep collecting. The only way to really get comfortable in this hobby is to just start collecting. Really get in there. Start going to card shops, start talking to other people that enjoy the hobby as much as you. Just really try and absorb and learn if this is something that you really want to get into. It's a hobby. Have fun with it. So if this video helped you at all, hit the like button and subscribe so that you can stay in contact and see other videos on how to better collect Pokemon cards down the line. Also, let me know in the comments, what card did you think was rare before today? I think we all had that one card that we thought was rare, like this one, and then you find out that it's not really worth anything at all. So just let me know in the comments which one you thought was rare or which one you thought wasn't rare and turns out actually is kind of rare. Also, if you want to learn how to collect better in 2025, go ahead and watch this video right here. Until next time, just start collecting.